9 to 12 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, Ahsoka Tano sets out to stop Thrawn's potential return to the galaxy. Rumors have been slowly floating around for quite some time, so she, Sabine, Hera, and Chopper go out to try and stop Baylan Skoll and his apprentice, as well as Morgan Elsbeth, from bringing Thrawn back to the galaxy. That is the story and the premise of Ahsoka. Without further ado, let's talk about it. Hey friends, welcome to the Disney Pastor. I'm your host Tim, and I talk all things Disney, which includes Star Wars. Let me know your thoughts of the series down in the comments below. I would certainly love to hear it. We're going to talk about the good, the average, and the bad, and then I'm going to give you my tier ranking. Here's the tiers to look out for. Without further ado, let's dive in. That's good. One of the things I absolutely love with this series is the casting. Amon Safandi, as well as Ray Stevenson, were both highlights in particular. Baylan Skoll was a new Dark Jedi slash Sith slash who the heck knows character introduced into the series, and I loved this character. Seriously, he's become one of my favorite kind of Sith characters in Star Wars now. But he definitely was a massive highlight of the show. And then, of course, with Amon, man, oh man, did he nail Ezra. I felt like his look and how he acted, everything about it, in my opinion, worked. It was great to see him. Ezra was definitely a great character in Star Wars Rebels, to be fair. The entire Rebels crew was fantastic. And speaking of which, I felt like some of the other actors did good portraying live action versions of these characters. This essentially was Rebels Season 5, and they managed to do casting right. Speaking of which, they kept Lars Mikkelsen, the voice actor for Thrawn, and boy did he deliver. I was a big fan of Thrawn in Rebels. I've not read the books, although seeing more of him is definitely making me want to read the books for sure. But I've enjoyed Thrawn as a character, and to see him return and in live action glory, and to hear the same voice of Thrawn for me was great. I thought he did a phenomenal job. It was very menacing and powerful, and that's what you want out of a villain, especially when you're setting up a potential heir to the Empire styled film. And so because of that, he's got to look and do great, and in my opinion, it was done very well. All right! Yo, yo, woo, woo. Side note, his army was super cool, and Enoch as well he looked great. I don't know why it worked, but it worked. One of the other things I loved was the exploration of the New Republic. Seeing characters like Mon Mothma again, who's now the Chancellor, seeing C-3PO, and how the whole justice system and defense, a mention of Leia, all those things, in my opinion, worked very well. We saw little glimpses in Mando Season 3, and I think we are continuing to see more of that. For me, I think it works very well here. It helps us to get a better understanding of what the New Republic was like. We didn't see it at all in the sequel trilogy, so I'm glad we're getting this sort of remedied a little bit. However, the biggest highlight, in my opinion, was Episode 5. I mean, it definitely was the best episode of the series. We get to see the world between worlds. We get Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. It was beautiful. It was so much fun to see flashbacks going all the way back to the Clone Wars and seeing bits and pieces of what it was like. Seeing a live-action Captain Rex and Siege of Mandalore, and seeing Hayden Christensen with his red lightsaber, and just the visuals and everything was done absolutely right. I loved it. I have no words. It seriously was absolutely fantastic and was the highlight for me. I literally finished rewatching the Clone Wars before this episode came out, so I definitely was all hyped up on a lot of Clone Wars stuff. It just hit right in the nostalgic childhood feels. I grew up with the Clone Wars, and so it just hit right where it needed to, and it was done, once again, extremely well. It was everything I wished for, everything I wanted, and that also meant Ariana Greenblatt, who played young Ahsoka, did fantastic, and she really carried the role. It also, I think, painted a better picture, because in animation, I mean, she does look a little bit older in there, but to see kind of a kid thrown into battle, into war, just added mess with my brain a little bit, but in a good way, to show just kind of the darkness of even the Jedi Order in a sense during the Clone Wars. But man, it was awesome. Easily the best episode of the show.
There's hope for you yet.
Something good, something bad, a bit of both.
Some of the average stuff for me was specifically in the ending. I think for the most part, it was done pretty solid. There was a lot of moments that just kind of felt like, is this it? Now, there has been rumors of a potential season 2, and as of this filming, it has not been announced yet. And if it does, that would be great, because that would make more sense as to why it ended the way it did. Now, granted, I kind of figured we would get a cliffhanger with this ending, with Thrawn coming back to the galaxy, but it felt like Ahsoka and Sabine's journey is unfinished. And with a Mandoverse movie up and coming, I don't think that's going to be the driving force of the movie. And so because of that, I'm a little interested to figure out where they're going to take these characters next. Obviously, we are going to see Sabine and Ahsoka and Hu Yang again. I have no doubt about it. But how they're going to be brought back and when is going to be a mystery. I personally would like to see a season 2. I think it'll help develop a little bit more of these characters. Just setting up the movie, I think, just a tad bit better. The other thing is, the first 3 episodes kind of had a very slow pace to it. And for the most part, it's okay, but it's definitely noticeable. And especially when it picks up in the last, specifically 2 episodes, honestly, this has just become quite a numerous problem throughout the Star Wars shows. And so I'm hoping that they'll take some time to try to refigure that out, because it is quite noticeable. But again, overall, there's still some solid stuff in those 3 episodes. I also think Morgan Elsbeth was a semi-decent character at the start. I like the twist of her being a Night Sister, and some of those things I thought were done well. But other than to progress the story along, I didn't really care for her that much. She's a decent character, but she definitely is the pawn to move the plot along, and that was very evident in her demise in the last episode.
Blood! And death.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
One of the biggest things, in my personal opinion, is Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. Their stories are so incomplete. Sure, seeing that last shot of Baylan with the Mortis gods was cool, but what are they going to do with that? The hard part is that Ray Stevenson unfortunately passed away before the show aired, which is a shame, because he did a fantastic job with his character. They were such a pivotal part of the first 4 to 5 episodes, and then 6 they kind of dropped off a little bit. 7 they had a bit of a bigger role, and then 8 it just felt like they were dropped entirely. One of the other things I have is there's not enough Chopper, other than that one scene in, I believe it was episode 2 or 1, it was one of the early ones, which was great. I love that scene. Chopper is adorable and cute, and we love him, and he's also a menace and a war criminal, but that's besides the point. What is the point is we need more Chopper, okay? Overall, I enjoyed the show. I felt like there were moments in this that were absolutely fantastic and were some of the best of Disney Star Wars thus far. There are other parts, though, that kind of like some of the other series have had a few little bumps and bruises, but for the most part, I was entertained and I enjoyed this show. Overall, I'm gonna give it a solid B tier, which means good. Again, I enjoyed it. I thought it was done fairly well, and I'm excited to see what else we get in the future. I'm excited even more now for the upcoming Mandoverse film. I think that's gonna do very, very well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd like to hear it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. Helps me know what you like, what you don't like. And if you're new around here, hey, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell to be notified for more videos just like this one. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day. Goodbye.